Good morning, Campbell. How are you, sir? After your late afternoon wake up after going the distance last night.
Yeah, I committed hard. I thought we were going to leave that off air, but yeah,
No, it's
it's
live.
been
It's for the
it's been
people.
it's been a short day for me so far. So it's good to be here. And some stage last night,
At least you didn't get disappointed. Like it
definitely
wasn't.
not.
It wasn't a letdown.
No, no. I think I've sort of committed now to pretty much watching every stage live, because the back end of this tour is going to be super exciting. And last
Are
night
you,
was just the start.
are you at a point now where you're comfortably making it through? Like you're hitting 1:30, 2 a.m. and it's like, yep, all right, I'm ready for bed, but I'm not hanging on for dear life.
No, you're hanging on, but the excitement of the last hour um, gets you up and about. But yeah, you go to sleep pretty quickly come 2:00, 2:30.
I wonder how Keno and Robbie and Bridie are finding the commentating because you got to be on the ball
Mate,
mid morning.
they surely be
Like
fine. Like that's their job. You just adapt. Like you
yeah,
just go
but
to bed. You go to bed at 3:30. You wake up at 2 in the afternoon, and you're going to work in the evening. Like it wouldn't be a problem if you were doing it for a crust.
yeah.
No problem at all.
Isaac gambled with a 9 p.m. espresso last night. Worked a treat. I don't mind that.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I haven't quite got into that coffee at that sort of hour, but I'm making it through organically so far.
Yeah,
Love.
love that. Uh, yeah, like I said, didn't let you down. What a stage again. Oh, and from the start too, the get go out of the holes, there was things going on everywhere. And for the first time in I don't know how many years, we've seen a green jersey race hot up and really animate and make the race something that it wouldn't have been last night if we didn't have a green jersey competition.
Yeah, big time. We talked about that was going to be one of the big battles of the day. And obviously, there was a feeling in the peloton / a memo went round that Bora was going to be absolutely crushing it. No one was really interested in the early break. King Kung and Toons went into it with no real chance of surviving. And yeah, like you said, Bora just took the bull by the horns from the start, shredded the race to pieces. Firstly on the Cat 4 to get rid of Bennett for the green jersey points, and then they properly put him to the sword on the Cat 2 and invested every single dollar they had into it.
Did they net a return?
Well, that's really only going to be decided in Paris, whether they have the green jersey or not, because there was a net plus 23 point advantage for Sagan on the day. So can you see that as, all the effort they put in, is that a good enough return? Obviously, they were going for the stage. But, come Paris, if Sagan wins the green jersey by a handful of points today, would be seen as a success. But we're not going to really know the outcome of that until Paris. But, geez, they committed so much to it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think well, last night was a great example of where the two riders are at. Bennett's quick. Bennett's moving well. He's climbing well. Like he's in good nick. But Sagan's got the upper hand in the hills, which is no surprise. But when it comes to if they go head to head, so if Bennett has to take points on the Champs Elysees and it's within reason, you can see it. You can see it happening.
Yeah.
If you're Peter Sagan, you need to go to the Champs Elysees in front in green.
Yeah, and we talked about when he got relegated to the back of the bunch he was in, whatever day that was. That's really important. Now, I'm not sure how many points he would have lost on that day, but it's becoming really important, and it's making for a good race within the race. So
yeah,
good for a neutral, but whew, there's a lot to get through from this stage, Albi.
There's a lot to get through, and just probably one of our main sources of information is down. Pro Cycling Stats says the server has crashed.
I hope you've done your preparation.
Oh well, I've done some prep, and I've also preloaded tomorrow night's and last night's stats. So we've got a little bit to run through, but I don't know. It's nice being able to click through to the different riders,
On
just
the
double
fly.
check a few facts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Start us off. Where do you want to start? Where do you want to go?
start us off. Do you want to touch on the quick step Bora race up the first climb?
I think so. I think
Anymore, or
that's. I mean, that sort of set the scene for the whole day, really. Yeah. Well, Bora, they went full gas on the Cat 2, dropped dropped Bennett. And then it was kind of a team's time trial for 40 odd K downhill valley, and it was who was going to give up first, really. And then
pretty good.
What did it get out to? Probably got out to 2 minutes, and then I think at about a minute 30 after they'd been chasing for ages, Quick Step they called it off. They just simply said, "Oh, we're not making any inroads." And Bora and CC were in the front riding, so there was two teams in the front. It was just Quick Step riding to bring Bennett back on, and it just got to a point where they just thought, "We're not going to catch these guys. Let's shut it down and try again another day."
Quick Step also had two riders in the front group, so they didn't have a full squad on the front.
Yeah,
doing the tap, so it was always going to be tricky. But you would have thought, like, it showed how hard Bora committed, because they weren't over the KOM. They weren't ages behind. It was
that's
very doable.
Exactly. I thought, Bennett, they might be able to get a bit of time on the descent and then sort of make inroads, get into the cars. If there were any cars that were let through, I'm not sure what happened, but I mean, Bora must have been going so hard in the front to make sure that those guys didn't come back, and eventually they surrendered. And there was a good little moment that I recognised once they did surrender. Tim de Klerk, the big man from Quickstep, was going back through the bunch, and he was lacing the NTT boys. They had Edvald Bossenhagen in that group and some others, and they weren't doing a tap. Bossenhagen finished second on a bunch sprint not too long ago, and they were just sitting in the wheel.
And their main sprinter Nizolo's out of the race, and they've got nothing else to ride for.
What are they doing in this race if they weren't helping the chase? Tim de Klerk had absolutely every right to be lacing them, and yeah, I quite enjoyed that, because if they're not going to go for a stage like this where they got Bossenhagen who can go with the tier 2 sprinters, what else are they doing in this race?
And that finish played out would have been perfect for Eddie the Boss to be there to feature in the final. The only thought is that they wouldn't want to be there if Sam Bennett's there, but you can't be playing that game if you've got nothing up the road to ride for.
Yeah, I mean, they had Valgren in that front group. He's probably not the same rider that he was 2 years ago with Astana or whoever he was winning Umloop Nieuwsblad with. But yeah,
if you had him off the back of his couple of Spring Classics victories, like, yeah, right, let's look into this. But he hasn't been super the last couple of years, and Eddie the Boss showed he's in good nick.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously not in super nick that he was dropped on that climb, and guys like Laporte, Mezgec, and Sagan were making over, so he's not in like top nick, but he's obviously going quick with a second. So I just really enjoyed that from de Klerk, just going back through the bunch and just picking guys off and not helping out. So yeah, hats off to de Klerk for letting people know where they stand.
3 votes. I would imagine too, Caleb Ewan would have had a sigh of relief when Quickstep did set up, did go, you know what, that's it. As he was out, he wasn't in that group, I don't believe, and could have been in a little bit of trouble.
Caleb, yeah, I mean, there was a 4-up TT off the back. I think there was Klug, De Boist, and Frederick Friesen, I think it is. So they were 4 up off the back. They came in 29 minutes down. Time cut was 40 minutes, so they were fine. But that's a mighty long day, 4 up, trying to make time cut
to get hooped out of the holes,
to be lining up for the Colombier tonight.
Yeah,
to do it all again. So It just shows how hard these sprinters are working just to make it to the finish of the Tour de France on the Champs.
We got a question: is Sam Bennett cracking? Will he make it to Paris with Green? I don't think he's cracking. I think I'm overly impressed with his climbing condition.
Yeah,
I think
I don't
he's
think
been good.
I don't think he's cracking at all. Will he make it to Paris in Green? That's another question.
Yeah,
I think
that's a trickier question.
He'll get to Paris. I don't think that's really what the question was. So, I haven't quite looked enough into what the stages look like in terms of where the bonus sprints allocated along the parcours. But I think based off of yesterday, we can see the Bora are just going to keep going and going and going whenever they can see an opportunity. So it's going to be a really good race. And the good thing is that he's still got a nice little buffer. So if he can just keep chipping away, keep accumulating, and then, like you said, off the top, it might come down to that final sprint in Paris.
And then it was pretty protocol after that till once Quick-Step threw in the towel.
Well, yeah, I mean, they didn't really. I mean, you had to keep pushing it to make sure that they didn't come back. They probably could have jammed it for another 10K, but it just seemed like CCC and Bora never really took their foot off the gas. And
they committed.
And in the end, it probably came back to bite them because there was no one there to help in the last 10K. I mean, Kamna was there doing bits and pieces, but I feel like they probably could have kept another rider back for that finale because it was always going to go pear-shaped and with everyone thinking they were a chance. And CCC are to blame just as much for not keeping anyone in reserve.
Yeah. The team that was keeping men in reserve, though, Team Sunweb, just continued a dominant team performance in the Tour.
Yeah, I mean, we keep bringing it back. We weren't.
I think after their performance so far, I almost need to dig up that footage of us not lacing them, but telling them that they're taking a pretty sloppy team to the Tour.
Yeah, I want you to dig it up for us. I don't want you to, replug it on the socials like dickheads. But I mean, the team sheet that they put out at the start of the Tour, sans Michael Matthews, you were thinking, where are the wins coming from? But they had 5 guys in that front group to go wild in the last 10K, and they played it so well. And Cry Anderson, that last 3K, I'd love to see that power profile. Wow.
Yeah, and it doesn't go kind of understated that to have that many guys in the front group at the end isn't an easy task to do. I know Bora and CCC were tapping on the front, but to have that depth, to have that strength, and then to execute a plan like they did, it was good.
That's a good point.
Good. And
it's one thing to have the numbers, but it's actually another thing to use them well. And they did. They had. Well, do we want to go to?
So we'll go to the bottom of the first Cat 4.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, start us off there when Benoot went on the attack.
Benoot was first to go.
Yeah.
It's a perfect start.
It shows the depth of the side when you've got Benoot being kind of the first man to head up.
First cab off the rank.
A guy that's won Strade Bianchi. A proper sort of classic specialist to be out doing the first job, loosening it all up. And then the interesting move that came was Kamna. He was the one that was left to support Sagan. And I've been thinking about it. Was it the right move to attack instead of just setting a little bit of a tempo in the bunch, or to just be sitting in the bunch to be able to follow attacks instead of going out in front? It let Sagan sit in the wheels, but then when they got caught, he had absolutely nothing left. So was it the right move to send him up the road, or should it be sat back?
No, it wasn't the right move.
It's easy now to be talking about it.
I don't think it was ever the right move, though. Even watching it, it was like, what is this guy doing? Like, it's not like he's, I don't know, Julian Alaphilippe. It's not like this is his thing, and it just seemed unnecessary. And it's not like Sagan was in super condition or super climbing condition, or it was like guaranteed that there was like 4 or 5 that were going to crest the climb and go to the finish. Like, yeah, yes, mark moves, put yourself on the back of things. Be difficult in trying to make sure that a breakaway doesn't get away. But it was kind of like, well, is Sagan trying not to get a sprint finish here? I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me, and it caught him out later on when Crow Anderson went bang, and Sagan was just left flapping, going, well, what do we do now?
Yeah, I think if they had that time again, they probably wouldn't do it. They'd probably keep him in reserve or just ride tempo on the front of the bunch. But that's what they did. Didn't work out for him. But another man who we thought was probably going to be a favourite was Wout van Aert. He was doing the job for the team, which was so good to see. Degen had a crack as well. Alaphilippe went whack. Just quickly, that was a pretty cool finale on the streets of Lyon. The whole population of Lyon was on the side of the streets. Coronavirus, what's that? Don't worry about it. I don't mind.
Finish.
Not minding the French approach to this whole saga. The show goes on. It's show.
The show goes, yeah. Especially when Julian Alaphilippe's going off the front.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was like real sunny, sort of. What season are they in? Don't know. In Lyon.
There was 2. So we talked about Kenya. The other asterisk move I've got is Bernal going off the front.
Yeah, didn't mind it.
You didn't mind it, or is that just that just speaks panic to me?
Just put yourself on the back. Put some other GC guys on the back foot. Maybe have to defend themselves a little bit. Maybe Roglic. You never know. On those are the days where, as a GC favourite, you're like, if I'm having a bad day, this could be a nightmare. So, put in a little bit of a move, see how the other guys are. Maybe they were having a bad one. They weren't. And I don't think there's too much to lose from having a crack in the last couple of K, like Bernal was doing. But Sunweb again, like Hershey, he was attacking as well, making things difficult. And I think that's the move that killed Sagan off, because he followed that one. GVA followed it as well, so it was kind of feeling like that was the one to go.
That was the danger move.
That was the one they felt was the most dangerous. And then when Sagan followed that, Crow Anderson just went crack over the top. Sagan's on the radio. Boys, where are you? They're saying, mate, we've been pulling for the last 150K. We're not going to be there. And that was it. That was the bike race right there and then when Crow Anderson went. And
Mitchelton Scott came to the front, but it was all too little too late.
Yeah, this is something I did want to talk about, because they also had 5 guys in the front group, and they didn't get organised, and they came to this tour looking for stage wins.
Sorry, what? They had 5 guys.
Mezgec, Impey, Chavez, Yates, and Bauer were all still there.
No. That's a very good pickup, Campbell. They've butchered this then, especially with the outcome of Mezgec winning the bunch gallop.
Exactly. That's where you think, geez, if we could have kept things tidy, but it's hard to get organised, and that sort of finale when there's attacks going, guys are like, at the back of the bunch, because it was super quick there. If you're in a bad position, it's pretty hard to get to the front and try and help. But yeah, 5 guys there: Chavez, Yates, Bauer did a little bit late. He finished 25 seconds down from the bunch, I think. So that shows that he did a big pull. But I mean, Chavez and Yates, if they're not going for GC, what are they doing?
They may as well be doing the tap for Mezgec.
Yeah, and then Impey, the lead out for Mezgec, and Mezgec won the bunch sprint. So a little bit of an opportunity goes begging for them there, especially with Mezgec winning the bunch kick. So I don't know. Sunweb had 5 there. Coffee just had 4 or 5 as well. They couldn't get organised. They had their Italian sprinter there who did well. But in the end, it was one of those stages where the more guys you had willing to go on the attack, the better. And that's what happened for Sunweb. So, yeah.
Like you touched on, it's almost like you have because it is so short, sharp, punchy. Like you look at the bunch, it was so long. There's a huge difference between being at the front, being in the mixer, Hershey going on the move, Krausen being there, versus hanging on for dear life, 200 meters behind, and
Yeah.
then kind of waiting for that lull, then getting back to the front. By the time you get back to the front, get organized. There's another 500 meters.
That's the thing. It
Um,
takes a long time to get organized if you're not all together. So you can see how
Mm.
quickly that gap went out. But yeah,
CCC was 7th, and where'd GVA come in? 21st.
yeah, ouch. They invested a lot. I think, if they had their time again, they might not have done so much early, kept some numbers for the finale to keep it together. But like we said before, Sagan and GVA chose to go with Hershey, and then Sunweb had another bullet to shoot with Crow Anderson. And yeah, I noticed it with 1.5k to go, Anderson, he's fannying around with his Garmin, like trying to he's like, this is going to be some good power. I'm just going to take a new lap on this.
Check this one out, coach.
Yeah. What else was there to talk about from that finale? Port, bike change, super from the team. Ellison was there, quick changeover, no stress. So a good day for them. Could have been a nightmare day to lose some time, but
tick from Trek.
Yeah.
Anything else? Bardet didn't start the race.
No, we heard those whispers yesterday.
Yeah. Which just confirms how cowboy it was for him to finish the stage.
A little bit, yeah.
Prue's just dropped a little message in there for you, Campbell. You got the comments up?
Yeah, I got the comments up. Absolutely. I think stage 15 is going to be the most important of the tour so far. Would you concur, Albie?
You would think so. Back-to-back Cat 1s before the final ascent.
Yeah, I
think it's a GC showdown.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be crucial. How high do they? What's the is altitude going to be factor? No, only getting up to 1,500 meters. So
yeah, no, I don't think so.
Are we finished with stage 14? We're going to move on to tonight?
I think that's everything. Yeah, that's all I've got. So, Jimmy, get the parkour up.
Yeah, pull it up.
This
Look
is what
out.
Yeah. Strap yourself in.
Thoughts, queries, concerns?
Thoughts. It could be a long time before the breakaways let go. With this sprint at 57 Ks.
Yeah.
You would think there'd be a lot of interest there. And then just, yeah, I think we'll get a showdown.
A GC showdown for the stage?
Yeah. A GC showdown for the stage.
Yeah. I think so. I'm sure Quickstep would love to see a breakaway go early to take as many of those points away at the sprint as possible. I think Bora are going to be the opposite. They're going to want to keep it together. So that's probably going to be the first stage of the race. Second is that lead into
the same time. If Bora are willing to control it, then well, yeah, beauty, because you would think Sam Bennett would take him to the cleaners.
Yeah.
Or do you just take all the risk off the table and go, you know what, I'll give it to Direct Energy, Cofidis, and someone else.
Yeah, or does Sagan just go in the breakaway and just try and go on that route? But again, Quickstep gonna going to let him go in the breakaway? Probably not.
You, would,
So,
you wouldn't think Sagan's
I
allowed in
mean,
the breakaway.
has anyone ever talked about the green jersey battle like this before? Like, it's becoming more of that than the race itself.
It's so good.
But yeah, those two Cat 1s back to back, and then there's probably a little bit of value before the Grand Colombier. So it provides a nice little platform for GC teams to keep it together ish. They can ride the two climbs. There's not a whole lot of value to keep it together. So yeah, it could be a stage for Roglic to try and win it. Get that extra bonus as well, and just put the nail perhaps into the coffin of some other boys.
Yeah, and maybe for a day for Roglic to open up the afterburners a little bit.
Yeah,
we've seen
17K at 7% is a genuine climb. That's not messing around.
And when you've got Tommy D, or you got Wood will probably be there somehow for the start of the climb. Ride the Valley, Tommy D, intercept Kuss, George Bennett might feature as well.
Yeah, I saw them keeping George Bennett out of trouble yesterday.
Yeah,
in the running, sitting at the back, so he's probably going to have a big role to play tonight. And then, like you said, Sepp Kuss has been good. Tommy D and Wood van Aert. So they've got the cattle to keep it together. But it's not really up to them to be attacking. Pogačar, Landa are probably the two ones that we're looking at to attack. But yeah, it's going to be a doozy, that's for sure.
Got a good little stat here from Andy Matthews.
Mm.
Can you see the comments?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the profile on Steep Hill. I'll come in.
The last 100K is a copy of Tour de l'Ain where it was Roglic, Bernal, and Quintana 1, 2, 3.
Mm. How does Bernal go tonight? How does he bounce back from the other day where he said he was doing some of his career best numbers and was getting dropped?
That's demoralizing.
Is that just a little bit of is that gamesmanship though? Would that sort of comments go into the press? Would you go out and say that?
I just found last night really interesting. Like it just seemed
you don't like it. You didn't like it.
It's a little bit of a panic move. The guy's not backing himself into the back end of the mountains. I think it'll be interesting. It will be really interesting. I don't know. We talked about him coming good, building into the Tour. Last year he built into the Tour as well. But geez, if he's not starting to find his legs now, there's not a whole lot of building you can do.
There's not much more building you can do.
Like, we're up to stage 15. I know there's a lot of climbing to do. There's a lot of Tour left, but he's got to start pegging some time back, or maybe not time back, but he's got to start pegging a bit of confidence back.
Yeah, Isaac agrees with you. It reeked a little bit of desperation, that move.
Isaac knows what he's talking about. And also for his squad, it's that point where the Tour's starting to get pretty hard. And if you're riding and you're going, oh, Jesus, has Bernal still got it? Is Bernal at the front of the game still?
Oh, yeah, that tender age of 23, 24, is he past it?
Not in terms of is he past it, but is he in good enough condition to win the Tour de France?
Well, I mean, looking at what he's done so far, no. But he's suggesting that his level's as good as what it was last year.
Yeah.
Is that true? I'm not sure. There's not as much climbing at altitude. There seemed to be a lot of really high altitude climbing last year, which played into the hands of Bernal. Colombian brought up at that sort of altitude, which helps a lot.
When you go to school at 2,500 meters.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I don't really know how tonight's going to pan out, but one thing's for sure: we're going to get some big time gaps. I think in the top 5 and 6, top 10 GC for sure.
Who's your pick?
I'm going to go Roglic. I'm going to go with Primoz tonight. He was just looking so good on that climb 2 days ago with Pogačar. He looked like he was really suffering on the wheel. Roglic had a cool, calm, and collected face in robotic mode, and tonight rest day tomorrow, so he can go a little bit deeper today with that day tomorrow to regroup. So I'm gonna go with Roglic for the stage win tonight.
I can't disagree. But
it'll just be interesting to see how that first bit plays out. I really don't know.
Yeah. The only thing I want to add to that is that I think it'll be Roglic, and he will be opening up.
Yeah.
I think we've seen him follow Pogacar. We've seen him follow other guys. He just diesels in the seat. Tonight, he's going to set fire to the rain, I feel.
Yeah. And like we talked about a little bit earlier, there's not a whole lot of, after the first climb, there's not a whole lot of valley. So, you can open up the taps on this race with 70k to go. Back-to-back Cat 1s, downhill, little valley, and then that final climb. So,
do you think this could be a stage for the Quintana, the Landers, the guys a little bit off the mark to go on a rampage?
We talked about this off air a couple of nights ago, that if a team like that wants to go wild, then tonight could be a good stage to do it. Those first two climbers provide an opportunity to light it up and ride it all the way home. Do they have the cattle to do it though? I'm not too sure.
Well, if you think about it though, like in terms of the cattle you need, if you've got a couple of guys that are climbing superb, it's not like you need to tow a big fella to take you across the flatlands. It's not set from the bottom start of the first climb to the finish is 76 clicks. Three genuine mountains to cover.
Yeah.
Another good point from Isaac Ritchie, potentially to move up a couple of pegs tonight. Also, a night to get really excited about Ritchie if he can pull together another performance like he did the other night and be featuring in the final. It's time to get excited about Richie Porte.
I think so. I think we see from the other night that he's building nicely. He's obviously pretty confident. He's looking relaxed. So all those things mean that we can expect a good performance. And I was just thinking back to Bahrain. Who have they got? The Caruso's climbing well. Pools has been struggling big time with some injuries sustained on the first day.
I don't know if you can count him.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, normally those two would be enough to cause some problems, but I just don't know whether Caruso can do it all. But gonna be some night, and I'm looking forward to it.
The only question we didn't touch on was from Bentley. How different would Sunweb's tour look if they had taken Matthews?
Yeah, well, the commentary team touched on it last night. They still probably might have had a few stage wins with Matthews in one way or another, but I don't think the team would have had this freedom to be just attacking the race like they have been. So, of course, it looks like a good decision now, not taking Matthews. 2 stage wins, more opportunities to come. They're definitely not sad about leaving Matthews at home, but I think if they had taken him, it would have been a very, very more regimented approach.
Sounds good. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Thanks for all your questions. Much appreciated. Thanks, Campbell.
Thanks, Alex. We'll go again tomorrow, rest day. What's the plans?
Try and tee up a potty, maybe.
Yep.
Get Caleb back, potentially.
Yeah, try for it.
Let's do a podcast tomorrow. We'll push that out ASAP. And then back to work Tuesday for the 5 o'clock unpack.
Roger. See you then.
Thanks. Thank you all. Bye.